Elena stood frozen in the hallway of her own home, her hand on the doorknob, her body swaying with exhaustion. It was 11:45 at night. She had been awake since 4 a.m. that morning. She had worked her nursing assistant shift at Grady Memorial from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m., rushed to her second job at the pharmacy call center from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., grabbed a granola bar in her car before her evening shift at the diner from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., and then driven across town to sanitize medical offices until 11 p.m. Her feet throbbed in her discount sneakers. Her back ached from lifting patients and scrubbing floors. Her eyes burned from staring at computer screens and prescription labels. But she had made it home. She could shower, maybe eat something, sleep for 4 hours, and do it all again tomorrow. Then she heard his voice. Kevin's voice came through the bedroom door loud and careless, the way it used to sound back when they first met. Back when she thought he was driven and ambitious. Back before she knew the truth. "Man, I'm telling you, I got it made," Kevin said. Elena could hear other male voices in the background. He had the phone on speaker. She works 4 jobs: nursing assistant, call center, diner, and cleaning offices at night. The other voices laughed. "And you just sit back?" one of them asked. "Pretty much," Kevin said. Elena heard him take a sip of something. Probably the expensive bourbon he bought while she drank tap water. "She thinks she's helping us get out of debt together. She thinks we're a team. She thinks if she just works a little harder, we'll be okay." "That's cold, man," another voice said, but he was laughing too. "Cold? Nah, that's smart," Kevin replied. "I made some bad bets. Sure. Got in over my head with some credit cards. But why should I suffer? I got myself a personal slave who thinks she's being a good wife. And let's be real, some people are built for that kind of work. Her people been working for mine for generations. She just doesn't know her role yet." Elena's hand slipped off the doorknob. Her purse fell from her shoulder and hit the floor with a soft thud, but the voices inside the room didn't notice. "What about that girl, Jessica?" someone asked. "She's still around?" "Oh, yeah," Kevin said. Elena could hear the smile in his voice. "Jessica doesn't know about the debt situation. She thinks I'm doing well. I take her to nice places, buy her nice things. She's fun, not exhausted and complaining all the time like Elena." "You're using Elena's money to date Jessica? Where else would I get it?" Kevin laughed. "Elena works so hard. She doesn't even check the bank statements anymore. She just deposits her checks and keeps going. I skim off the top for my personal expenses. She thinks every penny goes to bills. She's so tired, she doesn't even think straight anymore." Elena backed away from the door. Her legs felt like water. Her chest felt like someone had reached inside and squeezed her heart until it stopped beating. She walked backward down the hallway, her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. For years she had been working herself into the ground. For years since Kevin came to her with tears in his eyes, saying he had made mistakes, that he had gambling debts, that he needed her help just this once, that he would never let it happen again. She had believed him. She had loved him. She had promised to stand by him. So she took on a second job, then a third, then a fourth. She wore the same 4 outfits on rotation because she couldn't afford new clothes. She cut her own hair in the bathroom mirror. She gave up her gym membership, her book club, her Sunday brunches with friends. She stopped visiting her father because she couldn't afford the gas money. She ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches while Kevin ordered takeout. And he had been laughing at her. He had been calling her a slave. He had been using her money to date another woman. And beneath it all, she now heard something she had been too blind to see, the quiet satisfaction of a white man who believed, somewhere deep in his bones, that a black woman's purpose was to serve him. Her own grandmother had cleaned houses for white families in Macon, had come home with swollen knees and aching hands. Her mother had worked double shifts at the poultry plant and still found time to braid Elena's hair before school. Generations of black women in her family had worn themselves down working for other people. And Elena had walked right into the same trap, thinking marriage would make it different. Elena found herself in the kitchen staring at the sink full of dishes. Kevin's dishes. The dishes she would wash before going to bed, because he never did them. The dishes that would be dirty again tomorrow because he would eat breakfast and leave the mess for her. Her hands started to shake. Then her arms, then her whole body. She grabbed the edge of the counter to steady herself. The granite was cold under her fingers. She had picked this granite. When they bought this house 5 years ago, she had spent weeks choosing the perfect color, charcoal gray with silver flecks. She had been so happy. She had thought they were building a life together. But Kevin had been building a prison, and she had been too in love, too trusting, too exhausted to see the bars. Elena looked around the kitchen. Everything in this house she had paid for. The mortgage, the utilities, the furniture, the food, everything. Kevin's debts ate every penny she made. And somehow there were always more debts, more bills, more emergencies. Except they weren't emergencies. They were Jessica. Elena's phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from the hospital asking if she could pick up an extra shift tomorrow. They were short-staffed. She had already worked 6 days this week. Her body was screaming for rest, but she had bills to pay. Kevin's bills. No. The word formed in her mind like a crack of thunder. No, she was not going to do this anymore. She didn't know what she was going to do yet, but she knew with absolute certainty that she would never work another day to pay for Kevin's lies. She would never let him use her again. She would never be his slave. Elena picked up her purse from where it had fallen in the hallway. She walked back to the bedroom door. Inside, Kevin was still talking, still laughing with his friends about something else now. Sports maybe, or cars. She didn't care. She didn't open the door. Instead, she walked to the guest room, the room Kevin had turned into his office. The room she never entered because he said he needed privacy for work. Except he didn't work. That was another lie. Elena opened the door and turned on the light. The room was a mess. Clothes on the floor, empty beer bottles on the desk, papers scattered everywhere. She walked to the desk and started opening drawers. She didn't know what she was looking for, but she knew she would find something. In the third drawer, under a stack of old magazines, she found a credit card statement. Then another, then another. The amounts made her sick. $22,000 on this one, $18,000 on that one, $12,000 on another. And the charges were recent. Jewelry stores, hotels, restaurants she had never been to. Jessica. He was still spending money, still going into debt. While she worked 4 jobs, he was making it worse. Elena took photos of everything with her phone. Every statement, every receipt, every piece of evidence she could find. Her hands were steady now. Her mind was clear. The exhaustion had burned away, replaced by something cold and hard and focused. She had been asleep for 4 years. Now she was awake, and Kevin was going to regret the day he ever called her his slave. Elena turned off the light and closed the door behind her. She walked to the guest bathroom, the one Kevin never used, and locked herself inside. She sat on the edge of the tub and opened her phone. She looked at the photos she had just taken. Then she opened her banking app. The joint checking account showed a balance of $900. Her paycheck from yesterday. Kevin had already transferred $700 to his personal account, the one she didn't have access to, the one he said he needed for business. She looked at the account history. Transfers over and over. Her money going in, his transfers going out. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Years of her life stolen one paycheck at a time. Elena opened her email and started searching. She found the name of the divorce lawyer her coworker Tanya had used 2 years ago. She wrote it down. Then she searched for financial advisors, then for therapists, then for moving companies. She was making a list. She was making a plan. She was going to take her life back. In the bedroom, Kevin was still laughing, but his laughter had an expiration date, and Elena was going to make sure he knew exactly what it felt like to lose everything. Elena didn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest room bed, staring at the ceiling, watching the shadows move as cars passed outside. Every hour, she heard Kevin stumble to the bathroom, heard the flush, heard him get back into their bed. The bed she had been sleeping in for 8 years, the bed she would never sleep in again. At 4 in the morning, her alarm went off. Time to get ready for her hospital shift. Elena sat up and looked at her phone. The email to the divorce lawyer sat in her drafts folder. She had written it at 2 in the morning, then deleted it, then written it again. She still hadn't sent it. Some part of her was afraid that if she sent it, everything would become real. But it already was real. Kevin had made it real when he called her his slave. Elena pressed send. Then she got dressed in her scrubs, put her hair in a ponytail, and walked quietly out of the house. Kevin was snoring in the bedroom. He wouldn't wake up until noon. He never did. The drive to Grady Memorial took 25 minutes. Elena had made this drive so many times she could do it in her sleep. She had done it in her sleep, actually. Last month, she had dozed off at a red light and woke up to someone honking behind her. She parked in the employee lot and sat in her car for a moment. Through the windshield, she could see the hospital entrance, the automatic doors opening and closing as people went in and out. Sick people, worried people, tired people like her. Elena worked as a patient care technician. She spent 8 hours taking vital signs, assisting with daily activities, answering call lights, transporting patients. It wasn't the job she had dreamed of when she went to community college. She had wanted to be a registered nurse. She had been 2 semesters away from finishing her degree when she met Kevin. He had been charming, confident. He told her she was beautiful. He told her she was smart. He told her he wanted to build a life with her. So when he asked her to take a break from school to help him start his business, she said yes.
Just for a year, he said.
Just until the business got off the ground. That was 8 years ago. The business never happened. Kevin always had an excuse. The market wasn't right. He needed more capital. His partner backed out. Someone stole his idea. Elena stopped asking about it after the 2nd year. By then, she was working full-time to support both of them. By then, Kevin had convinced her that her dreams could wait, that they needed to be practical, that she was being selfish for wanting to go back to school when they had bills to pay. But they didn't have bills. Not back then. The bills came later, after Kevin started gambling, after he started losing, after he came home with tears in his eyes and promises on his lips. Elena got out of the car and walked into the hospital. Her shift started in 10 minutes. She scanned her badge at the employee entrance and took the elevator to the 4th floor. The medical surgical unit was already busy. Most of her coworkers wouldn't arrive until 7, but Elena liked the early shift. It meant she could leave at 3 and make it to her 2nd job on time. She stopped at the break room to put her lunch in the refrigerator. A photo of her and Kevin was stuck to the door with a magnet. It was from their wedding day. They looked so happy. Kevin in his suit. Elena in her white dress. Both of them smiling like they had won the lottery. Elena stared at the photo. She didn't recognize the woman in the picture. That woman had hope. That woman believed in love. That woman thought marriage meant partnership. She pulled the photo off the door and shoved it in her bag. The morning passed in a blur of vital signs and patient requests. At 10, her coworker Tanya found her in the supply closet. Tanya was a black woman in her 50s, divorced with 3 grown kids. She had been working at Grady for 25 years. Her mother had cleaned hotels. Her grandmother had worked in someone's kitchen. Tanya understood the weight Elena carried. "You look terrible," Tanya said, handing her a cup of coffee. "Worse than usual, I mean." Elena tried to smile. "Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm serious." Tanya leaned against the shelves. "You're going to kill yourself with all these jobs. When's the last time you had a day off?" "I don't know. January, maybe." "Elena, it's October." "I know what month it is." Tanya leaned forward. "Honey, I'm going to say this because I care about you. That man isn't worth it. Whatever debt he got you into, it's not your responsibility to fix. He's my husband. He's a grown white man who should be taking care of his own problems." Tanya paused. "Does he even work?" Elena didn't answer. She couldn't answer because the truth was too humiliating. No, Kevin didn't work. He hadn't worked in 4 years. He said he was looking for the right opportunity. He said he was too qualified for entry-level positions. He said he was networking. But what he really did was sleep until noon, play video games, go to the gym, and spend Elena's money on another woman. "I emailed your lawyer," Elena said quietly. "This morning." Tanya's eyes went wide. "You did?" I overheard Kevin last night talking to his friends about me. Elena's throat tightened. He called me his personal slave. And then he said something about how my people been working for his for generations. Like it was funny. Like it was natural. Tanya's face hardened. She had heard those words before. Her grandmother had heard them. Her great-grandmother had heard them while scrubbing floors on her knees. That man doesn't see you, Tanya said quietly. He never did. He sees what he thinks you're supposed to be. I know. You're not his slave. You're not anyone's slave. You're a black woman who deserves to rest, who deserves to dream, who deserves to be loved properly. Elena felt tears building. I'm so tired, Tanya. I know, baby. I know. Tanya squeezed her hand. But you're doing the right thing. Denise is a good lawyer. She helped me get everything I was entitled to. More than I thought I would get. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. I don't feel okay. You will eventually. Elena nodded, but she wasn't sure she believed it. She had been not okay for so long. She couldn't remember what okay felt like. The rest of the shift dragged. Every time Elena looked at the clock, only 5 minutes had passed. She answered call lights mechanically, her mind somewhere else, planning, calculating, trying to figure out how she was going to survive the next few months. At 3, she clocked out and walked to her car. She had 40 minutes to get across town to the call center. She stopped at a drive-thru and ordered a value meal, eating it in her car at red lights. The call center job was mind-numbing. She sat in a cubicle with a headset, answering calls from frustrated customers who wanted to know why their prescriptions weren't ready or why their insurance wouldn't cover a medication. Everyone was frustrated. Everyone yelled. Elena spent 4 hours apologizing for things that weren't her fault. At 7, she clocked out and drove to the diner. This was the job she hated most. She was a waitress at a 24-hour diner on the south side, the kind with sticky menus and coffee that had been sitting too long. She smiled at customers, took orders, carried heavy trays, cleaned up spills. Her feet always hurt after the shift. Tonight was no different. A family of 6 left her $2 on an $80 bill. A man at table 9 sent his burger back twice. A woman at table 3 asked for 17 different modifications to her salad and then complained that it didn't taste right. At 10, Elena's shift ended. She changed out of her work clothes in the employee bathroom and drove to her 4th job. The medical office building was in Buckhead, 12 floors of mostly white doctors with mostly white patients. Elena had a key to get in. She cleaned 3 floors every night, vacuuming, emptying trash, wiping down exam tables, and waiting room furniture. The building was empty except for the security guard at the front desk, an older black man who always nodded at her with understanding in his eyes. He waved at her when she came in. She waved back. Elena started on the 10th floor and worked her way down. She vacuumed in straight lines the way she always did. She emptied trash cans that were barely full. She wiped down desks where people left family photos and motivational posters. All these people had normal lives. They worked one job. They went home at 5. They had weekends. Elena couldn't remember the last time she had a weekend. At 11:30, she finished and drove home. The house was dark except for the glow of the TV in the living room. Kevin had fallen asleep on the couch. An empty pizza box sat on the coffee table. $40 pizza. Elena had eaten a $4 value meal for lunch. She walked past him to the guest room. Her phone buzzed. An email from Denise, the lawyer. I received your message. I have availability tomorrow at 9 if you can make it. We should talk as soon as possible. Elena looked at her schedule. She was supposed to work the hospital shift from 7 to 3, but she had to do this. She had to start somewhere. She emailed back, I'll be there. Then she set her alarm for 5 and lay down on the guest room bed. She was still in her work clothes. She was too tired to change. In the living room, Kevin snored. Elena closed her eyes and thought about the woman in the wedding photo. The woman who had believed in happy endings. That woman was gone. But maybe, just maybe, a stronger woman was taking her place. Elena woke up at 5 and called in sick to the hospital for the first time in 18 months. The guilt sat in her stomach like a rock, but she pushed it down. She had to do this. She had to put herself first for once. She showered quickly and quietly, then dressed in the only professional outfit she owned that still fit, a black blazer and pants that she had bought for a job interview years ago. She checked herself in the mirror. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide, but she looked determined. Kevin was still asleep when she left the house. Denise's office was in a modern building near Piedmont Park. Elena sat in the waiting room, her hands folded in her lap, trying not to think about all the things she should be doing instead. The hospital shift she had abandoned. The bills coming due. The debt that never seemed to shrink. Elena. A woman in her 40s stepped into the waiting room. She had short silver hair and kind eyes. "I'm Denise. Come on back." Elena followed her to a small office with a desk and 2 chairs. The walls were covered with diplomas and certificates. There was a photo of Denise with 2 teenagers, both smiling. "So," Denise said, settling into her chair. "Tell me what's going on." Elena told her everything. The 4 jobs. The debt that Kevin had created. The overheard conversation. The mistress. The money he had been stealing. The things he had said about her people working for his. Her voice shook at first, but grew steadier as she talked. Denise listened without interrupting. She took notes on a legal pad. When Elena finished, Denise set down her pen and looked at her directly. "First thing," Denise said, "none of this is your fault. You understand that." Elena nodded, but she wasn't sure she believed it. "Second thing, you're in a better position than you think." Denise leaned forward. "Did Kevin tell you these were joint debts?" "He said we needed to pay them together. That we were a team." "But did you sign anything? Credit card applications, loan documents, anything like that?" Elena thought back.
No.
He said he would handle the paperwork. Denise smiled. "Then legally, those debts are his, not yours. Gambling debts especially. If you can prove you didn't consent to them, you're not responsible." "Really? Really? And if he's been taking money from joint accounts without your knowledge to support an affair, that's financial infidelity. We can use that in the divorce."
Divorce.
The word hung in the air. Elena had been married for 8 years. She had promised forever. But forever couldn't include being someone's slave. "What do I do now?" Elena asked. Denise pulled out a checklist. "First, you separate your finances. Open a new bank account in your name only. Start depositing your paychecks there. Don't tell Kevin." "Won't he notice?" "Probably. But by the time he does, you'll be ready." Denise continued. "Second, you gather evidence. Every text message, every receipt, every bank statement. Document everything. Times, dates, amounts. The more evidence you have, the better." "I took photos last night of credit card statements I found in his office."
Good. Keep doing that.
"But be careful. Don't let him catch you. What if he gets angry? What if he tries to stop me?" Denise's expression turned serious. "Do you feel safe in your home?" Elena thought about it. Kevin had never hit her. He had never threatened her. But he had manipulated her. He had lied to her. He had used her. And now she understood that beneath it all, he saw her as less than human. "I don't know," she admitted. "If at any point you feel unsafe, you leave. You go to a friend's house, a hotel, anywhere. Your safety is more important than anything else." Denise wrote something on a business card and handed it to Elena. "This is my cell number. You can call me anytime." Elena took the card. Her hand was shaking again. "How long will this take?" she asked. "Depends on how cooperative Kevin is. If he fights, it could take months. If he agrees to settle, could be faster." Denise paused. "But Elena, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to be hard. He's going to be angry. He's going to try to manipulate you.
He might promise to change.
He might cry. He might blame you." "I know."
Do you?
"Because from what you've told me, you've spent 4 years believing his lies. It's easy to fall back into old patterns when someone you love is hurting." "I don't love him anymore," Elena said, and realized it was true. "I don't think I have for a long time." Denise nodded. "Then you're already halfway there." The meeting lasted an hour. When Elena left, she had a plan. Step-by-step instructions on how to take her life back. It felt overwhelming, but it also felt possible. She sat in her car and opened her banking app. She found the nearest branch and drove there. 20 minutes later, she had a new checking account and savings account in her name only. She transferred the $900 from the joint account into her new account. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Then she drove to the call center for her afternoon shift. The day passed in a blur. Frustrated customers, complicated problems, the same scripts over and over. But Elena's mind was somewhere else. She was making lists, things to do, things to gather, places she could stay if she needed to leave quickly. At 7, she went to the diner. The dinner rush was brutal. Every table was full. The kitchen was backed up. Orders were coming out wrong. Elena ran back and forth, apologizing, fixing mistakes that weren't her fault, smiling even though her feet were screaming. At 10, she clocked out. She should have gone to the cleaning job, but she couldn't. Her body had hit its limit. She texted her supervisor that she had a family emergency and couldn't make it tonight. Then she drove home. Kevin's car was in the driveway. The house was lit up. Elena sat in her car for a long moment, gathering her courage. She had to go inside. She had to pretend everything was normal. She couldn't let Kevin know that anything had changed. She put on her mask and walked through the front door. Kevin was in the kitchen making himself a sandwich. He looked up when she came in. "Hey babe," he said, smiling. "You're home early." "I got off early from the cleaning job," Elena lied. "They didn't need me tonight." "You want a sandwich?" She almost laughed. He was offering her a sandwich made with groceries she had bought with money she had earned. How generous. "No thanks. I ate at the diner." "Okay." He took a bite of his sandwich. "Hey, I was thinking maybe this weekend we could do something. Like a date night. We haven't done that in a while." "Because we can't afford it," Elena thought. "Because I'm working 7 days a week to pay your debts."
Sure, she said.
"That sounds nice." Kevin smiled.
Great.
"I'll make reservations somewhere. My treat." "Your treat. With my money." Elena excused herself and went to the guest room. She sat on the bed and pulled out her phone. She opened her email and started writing. A message to her father explaining everything. A message to Tanya thanking her for the lawyer referral. A message to the hospital requesting to drop down to part-time hours. She was taking steps. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. At midnight, Kevin knocked on the guest room door. "You coming to bed?" "I'm really tired. I think I'll just sleep here." "You've been sleeping in here a lot lately." "The bed is better for my back," Elena lied. "All the physical work, you know." "Okay." He paused. "Love you." The words felt like knives. How dare he say that to her? How dare he pretend? "Love you too," she said, because she had to. Because she wasn't ready yet. But soon she would be ready. And then Kevin would learn what it meant to lose everything.